I love thrifting. I love finding that perfect piece that has amazing details or just something extra different about it, and loving them probably more than someone else did, as I found it at a thrift store. I love giving things new life, but sometimes you just find that one piece that comes exactly the way you want it, and that is how I felt about this sweater until I ruined it. I went to a Red Lobster in this sweater and spilled melted butter all the way down the entire front of the shirt. And it was right before I was doing a 2-hour drive back to college with my mother. And I tried a couple things to fix it. I considered adding a nice stripe to the front or something. And then I decided, you know what? There's really no saving this guy. The splotches are all in really bad areas. My cat is using it as a bed at this point. So I started kind of pulling pieces from it, which is why I now have this very nicely ripped side. The bottom's all cut up entirely. The back, one entire back panel is actually cut up as well. But I really do love these appliques. These I thought were the most, kind of the winning part of this, and this always had kind of like a really grungy kind of feel to it, which isn't always my aesthetic anyway. So I thought something that might be nice is to kind of find another piece from the thrift store that I think could use some new life and apply these appliques to it and do a little, upcycle using some old clothes that just I can't wear anymore. So I found it, finally. It's got the same length of sleeves. It's a one size smaller. I believe this is an extra small, and it's meant to kind of hang a little bit baggy, but it was about the same length of sleeves. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the neckline. It's really high up, so I actually think I might put a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a V-neck line, like a short one, kind of closer to the top like the old one had, and I'm going to cut and seam rip these appliques off and attach them to the shoulders of this top. And I think, because of the texture of this one, I think it'll go really nicely with these beautiful appliques. And yeah, I guess let's just get started on this simple little thrift flip using things that I already have around the house. So to do this, I'm going to use a combination of seam rippers and tiny embroidery scissors. I wanted to use my sharp ones because I thought they'd probably get underneath really well, and obviously it's not fully connected on all sides. That's why it's kind of peeling up here, which means I should have a good shot at kind of getting in there and cutting stuff out. But I'm going to start with the seam ripper to really get in there and get things started without hopefully cutting any of the decal up or the piece of embroidery. And as you can see, it's already kind of starting to rip up, and it looks like it's only been sewed around the edges, which is really good. Yeah, you can see on the inside here that it's only been attached around the very ends, which is good news for me, because that means while these appliques are absolutely giant, cutting them out shouldn't be too much of a giant hassle, like getting things done from the middle, trying to find individual stitches and all that. So yeah, with that said, I think I'm going to start a hyperlapse of me cutting through all of this, and we should hopefully get this first shoulder applique off soon. There we go. Alright, that took a long time, but I finally got it out, and I'm taking note of the way that it's set up on the other shoulder here. It looks like the smaller rows is in the front, larger rows in the back, and then it kind of tapers down, but it doesn't actually touch the sleeves at all, which is fine. But I just kind of wanted to keep track of how it laid so that I knew how to put it on the new shirt, so probably something like that. Around the shoulder, which looks perfect, and I'm good with all of that. There are some sections at the bottom where it trapped some of the old fabric, but that's fine because I've been using it as scrap fabric anyway. I don't care if it gets a little messy. So with that said, I'm now going to spend probably another half hour cutting out the other one of these before I actually start adding them onto the new one. So yeah, I'm gonna do that off camera, and I will come back when I have 2 complete appliques. All right, I finally have both of my appliques out and ready to go, and I think I kind of got lazy. I'm not gonna say I think, I know I got lazy. I ended up just kind of cutting out with the fabric underneath, especially because I don't know if you can tell super close up, but there's no real like backing to this, and it's surprisingly like flimsy, which made me nervous when it came to sewing it on because it's so delicate. So for the second one, I did it this way, and I'm gonna take a look and see if that makes any difference at all in terms of the adherence, and then I can maybe give you some advice if you're taking appliques of this nature off of an old garment of yours that doesn't fit or whatever, and putting it onto something else to see maybe if this is the better way to go, or if it's better to just take it as it came originally. So yeah, with that in mind, I'm gonna let that hang off to the side for a little bit, and I'm gonna move on to, instead of doing the appliques, I would like to adjust the neckline on this sweatshirt. So I think what that's going to require is I'm going to probably get my magic marker, I don't know what it's called actually, but the disappearing ink marker, and I'm just gonna kind of make a nice little point here with the disappearing ink so that I know where to cut, and I'm going to slice down the middle a little bit and just hem up the edges. I know it's not going to look exactly the same probably, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, I think let's just get this done. All right, and as you can see, I have everything stitched up. I made sure to take just a dab of like fabric glue and put it on the edges so that they don't fray on the inside, since it is a knit material. And I think it turned out looking okay. I think somehow this weird thing skipped a stitch right at the edge here, so I might go in and hand stitch that little bottom pit there. But I actually kind of like the way that like the stretch of the fabric has kind of made this, it almost looks like a, I don't even know how to describe it. I really like the way that the collar looks now as opposed to the way it once did. I think it gives it a little bit more of a stylistic look to it. Stylistic, stylish, I think is what I was going for. So I guess now that we have all that jazz done, it's actually time to add in the appliques. So I have this one here. This is the one without the backing. And I checked, it looks like the small flower is supposed to go on the front, the smaller of the big flowers, if that makes sense. Kind of like this. And then this folds over around kind of, well, I guess it kind of sat on the shoulder a little bit, and then folded over onto the back. Now I kind of liked, when I was trying to look for like a similar color of sweatshirt when I was considering how I was going to remake this, but I decided to go with white because I think it'll actually give this chance to pop a little bit more. I think the pink maybe was a little bit much. I think I'm going to maybe stitch around the outside with some dots of fabric glue to kind of keep it from falling up, but I definitely only want to go around the outsides because of these like 3D pieces. I don't want to, you know, accidentally get those stitched down in any way. All right, I went with the glue because I'm lazy. Surprise! But actually, I'm kind of liking it. I think it looks really, really classy. And I also managed to pull all of it over to the back. So it folds around and it kind of touches at a weird place, like the flower ends right in like the armpit of both sides. But I still think it looks nice from the front and the back. I definitely think the front is the, you know, star of the show, but that's fine because that's kind of what I wanted to emulate. I loved that sweater. I'm really upset that, you know, I can't keep it anymore, but I'm glad I was able to recycle it into something that I can keep wearing, as well as something that I think suits my style a little bit more. Like I said, I mean, The texture, I think, adds something really nice to the embroidered patch. On top of the fact that it's a little bit whiter, it's not so like aggressive with color. Even with the like muted pink, I felt like it was really kind of in your face. This feels a little bit more understated. I like the V-neck line, which the old one had, but the old one was also cropped. This one is like a perfectly suitable length for my torso. I'm a very short person, so the torso is actually like the perfect length for me to like tuck into something, which I couldn't do with the old one. So I actually can get away with wearing this sweater like to work or to like more fancy functions, as opposed to, you know, wearing it to work out in, which I mean is not really something that seems appropriate for how nice it is. So I definitely think I was able to dress it up. I'm going to try it on, and I think that will be the end of this video. And here is the finished thing on. It definitely sits wider on the shoulders than I was expecting, but I kind of like that. Also, the roses kind of sit like right where my bra lines would be, so it hides them very nicely, which I actually appreciate. I definitely feel like maybe this is in a little closer to the armpit than I would have liked, but overall I think it looks really good. And I think that with the white underneath it, it stands out a lot more than the other one did. I wish I could have put it on and showed it to you so that you could really kind of see the way that the old one looked, but it was so tattered and torn up by this point that it just didn't seem worth the trouble, and or possibly worth flashing my audience, I suppose. So yeah, I actually really like the way that this turned out. I think that this would look great tucked into just a simple pair of jeans, and maybe even with like some more decorative necklaces or like a long gold chain or something. Yeah, I really actually like it, and I'm glad that I was able to take something that I loved so much and wore so frequently and turn it into something that I am going to keep wearing, in spite of the fact that it was kind of dingy and old and no longer functional for me. So I definitely like the way that it turned out. I think that this would be great for maybe even like a photo shoot in, now that it's not so workout apparel-y. I think I can actually maybe put this on and take some pretty pictures in it. Maybe this would be like a nice, you know, opening into spring, or like kind of maybe if it's snowing outside. I think this pop of red looks really nice on the white, and I actually think I do like this a lot better than the way the sweater once was. So thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. I put out new videos every Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully next week you can come back again to see me try something else out, crafty, maybe a review, who knows. It kind of changes up every week, but hopefully you like this, and hopefully I will see you then. See ya!